Welcome back. Translators Introduction. Drawing his concepts and images from the Buddhist treasury, Dahoy taught people for whom these were familiar ideas, with definite associations. Translating his words for a time and a place where Buddhism is not so widely known calls for an introduction to some of these indispensable terms whose foreign names and unfamiliar meaning might otherwise be unknown. Those familiar with the outlook of Mahayana Buddhism, those who already know the meaning of the words like Buddha, Dharma, Bodhisattva, and Tathagata, can proceed directly to Dahoy's letters. This discussion of a background assumptions, as well as the footnotes in the text on more specific points, are based on the panopticon of Buddhist teachings. The Tzu Ching Lu, composed by the 10th century Chinese Buddhist adept known as Yin Sha. Okay. Buddha taught beings according to their kind, with methods and doctrines suited to their needs and abilities. Therefore, there is no fixed doctrine, only various expedient teachings. At different levels of the teaching, same words are used with different connotations, in different contrasts. It is acknowledged that this great affair of becoming enlightened cannot be conveyed fully in words, yet we cannot do without words either. Buddhism is the Buddha Dharma, the teaching of the enlightened one. Often it's simply the Dharma, meaning the teaching or the truth. Naturally, the true teaching is one with reality itself. This idea is facilitated by the very word Dharma, which besides meaning teaching, doctrine, method, also means thing. Physical objects and mental concepts, in fact all phenomena, are dharmas. And the world of the dharmas is one with the world of the Dharma, the one reality. 2,500 years ago, this teaching appeared through the Indian sage Gautama, known as Shakyamuni Buddha, the world-honored one. In the face of suffering death, worldly living lost its meaning and appeal for the hitherto sheltered young prince, who left his family and position to seek a way out of the cycle of birth and death. For 6 years he tried such methods of spiritual cultivation as were current in his day without finding liberation. At last, at age 35, he achieved his own enlightenment, penetrating through to the extinction of desire, hatred, and ignorance, through to unconditioned reality, to nirvana. For him, the things of the world were finished and done with, yet Shakyamuni rose from his seat of enlightenment to teach worldly beings, devising all sorts of suitable teachings, unobstructed by worldly circumstances. He preached for 45 years to all classes of population, turning the wheel of the Dharma. Shakyamuni Buddha thus actualized to the highest degree the bodhisattva ideal. To be bodhisattvas, those who are enlightened must not grasp the experience, but rather to be able to detach from detachment, freely to re-enter the worlds of delusion to benefit the beings who make their home there. Yin Shao says that if there's only transcendental wisdom contemplating the real aspect, which is formless and changeless, without knowledge of the provisional involved with existence, this is being sunk down and stuck in emptiness. The Hua Yin Sutra says that bodhisattvas do not enter the world outside of emptiness, and do not enter emptiness outside of the world. As it came down through time, the Buddhist teaching has been elaborated in so many schemes analyzing psychology and being. Shakyamuni found that the afflictions of the worldly existence arise through the process of interdependent causation: ignorance, volitional activity, which is creating karma, consciousness, name and form, the senses, including conceptual mind as the sixth, contact, sensation, desire, clinging, becoming, birth, old age, suffering, and death. All 12 links are present in each and every instance of deluded consciousness. What we perceive as external world and internal I are laboriously maintained illusions of false consciousness. Self-created, self-received, the inconstant, unsatisfying reality that traps us is our own doing, the product of force of habit, a fabrication, like a dream or a magical illusion. So our acts, karma, determine our consciousness and being. Buddhism has seen a range of techniques involved for breaking these bonds and awakening to the liberated essence. Shakyamuni was a historical figure, the Buddha. But the word Buddha is used in a wider sense too. First, other Buddhas before and after Shakyamuni have appeared and will appear to make a mark on the world as great teachers. More generally, since all beings share in the same enlightened nature, all are Buddhas, innately endowed with a formless, changeless, inherently awake, real nature. We can reveal and master the use of it, and thus become Buddha. We all have naturally real Buddha within, the essence completely perceptive and aware that is also called the one mind and the true thusness. Buddha often referred to himself and other Buddhas as Tathagatas. Tathagatas means one who has come from the truth, or from the truth. As the Chinese explain their translation of it, Tathagata means coming from within the self-nature of one's mind's true thusness. Thusness is changeless and invariant, and doesn't lose its own identity. True thusness does not keeping to its own changeless void nature, but appearing according to circumstances, is the coming. Actually, this is coming without coming, yin-sha. The embryo of a Tathagata is there in all sentient beings. This is the same as saying that everyone has Buddha nature. People who mistake their self-centered perceptions for reality and accept their stock of habits as all there is completely miss their true nature in their folly. In that delusion, it may be said, to hide this ever-present reality, the world of sentient beings can be called the womb of the Tathagatas, the repository of thusness. When revealed, so that without being removed, phenomenon don't obstruct truth and form doesn't defile emptiness, it's called Buddha's body, or reality, the Dharmakaya. The oneness of the universe is the everywhere equal body of reality. The Ha-Yin Sutra says, Buddha's body fills the universe, appearing everywhere. Am I still recording? Okay, cool. Appearing everywhere, before all sentient beings, proceeding to effect according to causes. There's nowhere it doesn't extend to, well, always upon the seat of enlightenment. The Chan adepts of China considered themselves heirs of a direct mind-to-mind transmission reaching from Shakyamuni Buddha himself through a succession of 28 ancestral teachers in India to Bodhidharma, who brought Chan to China around the late 5th or early 6th century and became its first ancestral teacher there. Bodhidharma, it is said, directly pointed to people's minds, letting them see their inherent nature and become Buddha. Chan is a separate transmission outside of verbal doctrines, but by no means opposed to the Buddhist scriptures, which Dahoy and other Chanmen refer to as the teachings, when they quote from them. The Sanskrit names you'll encounter are figures from the scriptures: Maitreya, the future Buddha; Manjarishi, the Bodhisattva who represents wisdom; Indra, the Lord of Heaven; Sudana, Shapura, and Subhuti, disciples of the Buddha. Frequently, Dahoy quotes Vimalakriti, a hero of a sutra who exemplifies an enlightened being of vast spiritual powers who, yet lives in the world as a householder. By Dahui's time, tales of the sayings and doings of the early classic figures of Chinese Chan were employed as teaching devices or material. Well-known stories and sayings became public cases to come to grips with in meditation, and were used as problems to test the realization of students. Those with Chinese names Dahui mentions or quotes are mainly 8 adepts of the preceding 4 centuries of Chan in China. Perhaps the most often cited is Yung Chia, who spent one day with the 6th ancestral teacher and received his approval. Biographies of many of these famous masters can be found appended to the Blue Cliff record. Lucky us. Buddhism keeps in view the fact that even good things such as its liberative techniques and spiritual guides can become obstacles to the path when they are objects of attachment. It's all right to use a method to enter the path, but if you stick to it as the ultimate, it becomes a sickness. Seeing his contemporaries indulging in verbalism with public cases, memorizing the right answers, Dahui went so far as to stop the circulation of his teacher's great work of commentary on them, the Blue Cliff record. Likewise, he struggled against the infatuation with quiet meditation that was prevalent in his time under the rubric of silent illumination. Of course, Dahui was not at odds with the living essence of the Cao Tung tradition. The great receiver of the Cao Tung Chan, who was his contemporary, Hung Chi, left Dahui in charge of his affairs when he died. So we must recognize that not only do those who cling to and intellectualize the techniques of meditation go astray, but that, even correctly applied, no technique is the answer for all time. They're all temporary gates. This translation is based on the Chinese text found in Xie Ye Lu, The Records Pointing at the Moon, volumes 31 and 32. Some of this material has been deleted where it seems to require too much familiarity with public cases. What appears below represents the bulk of the Chinese text. The letters are arranged in the same order as the original, with headings for each item provided by the translator. Where an elliptical Chinese phrase conveys information or associations familiar enough to Dahui's audience to be unstated, but which are not apparent to modern readers, the translator has filled out the meaning with parenthetical additions in the text. Example: not until the non-existent year of the ass. Given the lack of full, precise one-on-one equivalencies from language to language, the translator has chosen to vary the rendition of phrases, formulas, and sayings that keep cropping up, in order to indicate more fully the range of meaning. Every effort has been made to ensure the continuous flow of the English texts to convey something of the direct and forceful eloquence of Dahui's teaching style. End Translators' introduction. Ooh-bah. Well, I think we should get to maybe just one, maybe two of Mr. Dahui in his own words. Number 1. Page 1. Clear the mind. Buddha said, if you want to know the realm of Buddhahood, you must make your mind as clear as empty space and leave false thinking and all grasping far behind, causing your mind to be unobstructed wherever it may turn. The realm of Buddhahood is not some external world where there is a formal Buddha. It's the realm of the wisdom of a self-awakened sage. Once you are determined that you want to know this realm, You do not need adornment, cultivation, or realization to attain it. You must clear away the stains of afflictions from alien sensations that have been on your mind since beginningless time, so that your mind is as broad and open as empty space, detached from all the clinging of the discriminating intellect, and your false, unreal, vain thoughts, too, are like empty space. When this wondrous, effortless mind will be implemented wherever it goes, then it will be implemented wherever it goes. Number 2. Mindlessness. An ancient worthy had a saying, "To look for the ox, one must seek out its tracks. To study the path, seek out mindlessness. Where the tracks are, so the ox must be." The path of mindlessness is easy to seek out. So-called mindlessness is not being inert in the and unknowing like earth, wood, tile, or stone. It means that the mind is settled and imperturbable when in contact with situations and meeting circumstances. That it does not cling to anything, but is clear in all places, without hindrance or obstruction, without being stained, yet without dwelling in the stainless, viewing body and mind like dreams or illusions, yet without remaining in the perspective of dreams and illusions, empty nothingness. Only when one arrives at a realm like this can it be called true mindlessness. No, it's not lip service mindlessness. If you haven't attained true mindlessness, just go by the verbal kind. How is this different from the perverted Chan of silent illumination? Just get to the root. Don't worry about the branches. Emptying this mind is the root. Once you get to the root, the fundamental, then all kinds of language and knowledge, and all your daily activities as you respond to people and adapt to circumstances, though so many upsets and downfalls, whether joyous or angry, good or bad, favor or adverse, these are all trivial matters, the branches. If you can be spontaneously aware and knowing as you are going along with circumstances, then there is neither lack nor excess. Footnote here, Tahoe uses silent illumination in a pejorative way to criticize those who emphasize stillness and quiescence in themselves as the ultimate, without making empowerment through enlightenment the standard. 3. Tend the ox. Since you're studying this path, then at all times, in your encounters with people and responses to circumstances, you must not let the wrong thoughts continue. If you cannot see through them, then the moment a wrong thought comes up, you should quickly concentrate your mental energy to pull yourself away. If you always follow those thoughts and let them continue without a break, not only does this obstruct the path, but it makes you out to be a man without wisdom. In the old days, Kuei Shen asked Lazy Anne, "What work do you do during the 24 hours of the day?" Anne said, "I tend an ox." Kuei Shen said, "How do you tend it?" Anne said, "Whenever it goes into the grass, I pull it back by the nose." Kuei Shen said, "You are really tending the ox." People who study the path in controlling wrong thoughts should be like Lazy Anne, tending his ox. Then gradually a wholesome ripening will take place of itself. Last one. Number 4, don't grasp another's bow. Do not grasp another's bow. Do not ride another's horse. Do not meddle in other people's affairs. Though this is a common saying, it can be sustenance for entering the path. Just examine yourself constantly, from morning to night. What do you do to help others and help yourself? If you notice even the slightest partiality or insensitivity, you must admonish yourself. Don't be careless about this. In the old days, Chan Master Lao Lin lived up in a tall pine tree on Shi Wang Mountain. People of the time called him Bird's Nest Monk. When Minister Po Chui was commander of Xinjiang, he made a special trip up the mountain to visit him. Po said, "It's very dangerous for you where you're sitting, Chan Master." And the master said, "My danger may be very great, Minister, but yours is even greater." Po said, "I'm commander of Chin Tin. What danger is there?" The master said, "Fuel and fire are joined. Consciousness and identity do not stay. How could you not be in danger?" Po also asked, "What is the overall meaning of Buddhist teaching?" And the master said, "Don't commit any evils. Practice many virtues." Po said, "Even a 3-year-old could say this." And the master said, "Though a 3-year-old child could say it, an 80-year-old man cannot carry it out." Po then bowed and departed. Now, if you want to save mental power, do not be concerned with whether or not a 3-year-old child can say it, or whether or not an 80-year-old man can carry it out. Just don't do any evil, and you've mastered these words. They apply whether you believe or not, so please think it over. If worldly people, whose present conduct is without illumination, would correct themselves and do good, though the goodness is not yet perfect, isn't this better than depravity and shamelessness? One who does not dwell on the, or one who does evil on the planet, or I'm sorry, one who does evil in the pretext of doing good is called in the teachings one whose causal ground is not genuine, bringing on crooked results. If, with a straightforward mind and straightforward conduct, you are able to see supreme enlightenment directly, this can be called the act of a real man of power. The concerns that have come down from numerous ages are only in the present. If you can understand them right now, then the concerns of numberless ages will instantly disperse, like tiles being shattered or ice melting. If you don't understand right now, you'll pass through countless eons more, and it'll still be just as it is. The truth that it is as it is has been continuous since antiquity, without ever varied so much as a hair's breadth. Matters of worldly anxieties are like links of a chain joined together continuously without break. If you can do away with them immediately, because you have been habituated to them since beginningless time, to the point where they've become totally familiar. If you don't exert yourself to struggle with them, then as time goes on, with you unknowing and unaware, they will have entered deeply into you. Finally, on the last day of your life, you won't be able to do anything about it. If you want to be able to avoid going wrong when you face the end of your life, then from now on, whenever you do anything, don't let yourself slip. If you go wrong in your present doings, it'll be impossible not to go wrong when you're facing death. There's a sort of person who reads scriptures, recites the Buddha name, and repents in the morning, but then in the evening runs off at the mouth, slandering and vilifying other people. The next day he does homage to Buddha and repents as before. All through the years till the end of his life, he takes his daily ritual. This is extreme folly. Such people are far from realizing that the Sanskrit word kashma means to repent faults. This is called cutting off the continuing mind. Once you cut it off, never continue it again. Dang, this is longer than I thought it was going to be. Once you've repented, do not commit wrongdoings again. This is the meaning of repentance, according to our Buddha, which good people who study the path should not fail to know. The mind, discriminating intellect, and consciousness of the students of the path should be quiet and still 24 hours a day. When you have nothing to do, you should sit quietly and keep your mind from slacking and the body from wavering. If you practice to perfection over a long, long time, naturally, body and mind will come to rest at ease, and you will have some direction on the path. The perfection of quiescence and stillness indeed settles the scattered and confused false consciousness of sentient beings. But if you cling to quiescent stillness and consider it the ultimate, then you're in the grip of perverted silent illumination Chan. The Sanskrit word pranja means wisdom. Those who lack clear pranja and are greedy, wrathful, stupid, and lustful, those who do not have clear pranja and harm sentient beings, those who do such things as these, they are running away from pranja. How can this be called wisdom? By keeping mindful of the matter of birth and death, your mental technique is already correct. Once the mental technique is correct, then you won't need to use effort to clear your mind as you respond to circumstances in your daily activities. When you don't actively try to clear out your mind, then you won't go wrong. Since you don't go wrong, correct mindfulness stands out alone. When correct mindfulness stands out alone, inner truth adapts to phenomena. When inner truth adapts to events and things come to fuse in inner truth. When phenomena fuse with their inner truth, you save power. When you feel the saving, this is the empowerment of studying the path. In gaining power, you save unlimited power. In saving power, you gain unlimited power. This matter may be taken up by brilliant, quick-witted folks, but if you depend on your brilliance and quick wits, you won't be able to bear up. It is easy for keen and bright people to enter, but hard for them to preserve it. That's because, generally, the entry is not very deep, and the power is meager. When the intelligent and quick-witted, or with the intelligent and quick-witted, as soon as they hear a spiritual friend mention this matter, their eyes stir immediately, and they are already trying to gain understanding through their mind's discriminating intellect. People like this are creating their own hindrances and will never have a moment of awakening. When devils from the outside wreak calamity, it can still be remedied. But this reliance on intellectual discrimination amounts to when one's own family creates disaster. It cannot be. You know, but I am actually losing my focus here. My goodness, I can't even focus. Okay, the answer to the question is yes, it's almost over. And the other problem is, so, we're going to light this cigarette. Goodness, you think I can't tell when you guys are falling asleep on me? Oh, I can tell. I can tell. You can't fool Granny. Can't fool Granny. See this long footnote I have to read out to you in a minute? Alright. Back to it. People like this are creating their own hindrances and will never have a moment of awakening. When devils from outside wreak calamity, it can still be remedied. But this, reliance on intellectual discrimination, amounts to when one's own family creates disaster, it cannot be averted. This is what young Chia meant when he said, "The loss of the wealth of the Dharma and the demise of virtue all stem from the mind's discriminating intellect." Now, that was the end of the teaching, and we're not going on, but I will read the footnote, and then we are done. Starr talks about this thing called the mind's discriminating intellect. This refers to the 8th, 7th, and 6th consciousnesses, different names for a single thing according to the consciousness-only treatise. Since Dahoy regularly uses these terms in block in this book, there's no need to enter deeply into the various schemes of contrast and relationships among these three aspects that have been propounded in Buddhist theory. However, To give a rough indication, the first 5 consciousnesses associated with the familiar 5 senses become attached to sense objects because of the 6th consciousness, which discriminates amongst them. The 7th consciousness, the one that thinks and calculates, clings to the discriminations of the 6th consciousness, assumes the existence of a self, and plans actions good and evil, thus creating karma, bringing on birth and death, and obscuring the true nature of the 8th consciousness. The 8th consciousness is called mind, the seed consciousness, and the storehouse consciousness. It is the all-encompassing basis, that which is influenced and transformed by the diluted 6th and 7th to form the substance of the experience of illusion. Its true mind, that does not keep to its own inherent nature, but transforms according to causal conditions, pure or defiled, merged with them, yet not merged. It is the mind and consciousness of the saying, the triple world is only mind, the myriad things are only consciousness. With enlightenment, the 8th consciousness are said to be transformed into 4 corresponding kinds of wisdom or knowledge. For example, the 8th consciousness becomes the great perfect mirror wisdom. Yet even this transformation that comes with Buddhahood is called changing names, not changing essence. That's at the end of the footnote. Hallelujah. All right. See you tomorrow.